Welcome to week 5. It's hard to believe that you actually have now completed half of this course. And so in the subsequent weeks, we're going to devote our time to writing. We've learned our skills. We've put it together in this first week, just a very short paper to demonstrate the ability to handle each of the paragraph types. So this week we'll write another short paper, but we will add an additional element. And we also then need to spend a little time looking at sentences, safe assign, and reference details. But before we do that, let's look at some tips. The tips are becoming more important as you go along, so take note. Many errors are prevented simply by paying careful attention to the directions. And honestly, this is one of the biggest sources for lost points. Reading and watching the required material will give you a very strong foundation for beginning and successfully completing assignments. Please double check the bulleted section. Those bullets include the required elements, and so make sure that before you submit a final paper or assignment, that you double check to make sure that all of the bullets have been covered, because that's what your faculty is going to do. So you might as well do it first. And then please use tutor.com and Grammarly for each paper. And I need you to attach a copy of the tutor.com report along with that completed paper. Now let's take a look at discussion question number 1. There are 2 this week, as well as 2 assignments. So the first one is going to be talking about safe assign reports. But please watch the 2 videos on this before you attempt to do this discussion question. The idea here is that once you have submitted your paper or your assignment, a safe assign report is created that will help you to learn to paraphrase, and it will find, of course, the unoriginal language. This is a very useful tool, both for the student and for the instructor. The report actually just highlights the unoriginal language that it finds, and it will find it. This can help you find the areas that need to be paraphrased in your own words, and missing citations can then be corrected. So if you find some areas after you look at your safe assign report that are missing and need to be rephrased, please do so and then alert your instructor. Many times you will be allowed to fix and resubmit, and this highlighting will help you to improve your paraphrasing skills. Instructors do review each safe assign report, and they will be alerting you to changes that need to be made. So if you can get ahead of that and get it fixed, and then just notify them that, hey, found some problems, but I've got them fixed, may I resubmit? They'll be very, very happy about that. Plagiarism and cheating can and is found this way. So don't let it happen to you, whether it's inadvertent or on purpose. Check every safe assign report. And so let's take a look now at an example of what it looks like. Here's an example of the highlights in a report, and notice that the yellow highlights show this section of the paper, I should say, match another student's paper. By clicking on that link on the right, the name of the student may be revealed. The blue highlights show unoriginal language from a website here, and they may take you to that site if hyperlinked. So this gives you an opportunity to take a look at it, and you'll find that when you click on one of these highlighted areas, it's going to open up like this, and it will actually show you your part of the paper on the left and where the source is on the right. And you will see that in this particular case, those words on the right were put in exactly on the left. Now, sometimes in a list, it's a little hard maybe to paraphrase, but you need to do your best to try to start in a completely different part of the sentence, use it a different way, and of course, always, always put an in-text citation, which this student did not do. You see that's a 68% match, and so we know that person who wrote this paper could do better. All right, for the discussion then, look at the Safe Assign report from the week for assignment. And you were asked last week to find it, make sure you knew where it was, take a look at it, read through it, and then please discuss 2 highlighted sections that are in your report. Not only do you need to discuss which sections were highlighted, but identify the cause of the highlights. What caused that? There are reasons why things highlight, and I'm just going to let you work with that a little bit. We'll talk about it a little bit more during the discussion time, but please discuss how that Safe Assign report will be useful to you. And it will be very useful, and faculty do expect you to take a look at that. For discussion question 2, we want to go now and look a little closer at references. You have had a little experience to references, but we want to really begin to hone them and polish them and get them right. And so the key really to a perfect reference entry is the pattern. Now, if you've ever done any sewing, you know that the pattern guides the construction of the garment in every respect. If there's a notch in that pattern, you cut a notch in the fabric. Whatever that step is that you're supposed to do that's listed on the pattern, that is supposed to be done in the fabric. And if the pattern is not followed, you'll create something that does not fulfill the purpose and probably doesn't fit. So you need to find the correct pattern. And once you've found it, you need to copy it exactly. So if it shows that something is title case, or every important word is capitalized, you do that. If it shows you leaning to the right, as in an italic, then you have to do that. You just follow the exact pattern exactly. And if you do that, it's going to come out right. So we want to practice this on a chart this week. And the chart will be, you'll be able to download that chart and then post it. And I'm going to show you exactly. So remember that this chart can really help you. It can serve as an aid, but only if it's done correctly. So you're to download the chart, complete it, and post it back into the form. And then discuss why it's important to have accurate references. And then please look at least 2 other peers and help them find their errors. They're going to help find yours, so please help them find theirs. And hopefully at the end, we will have created a little reference aid that you can look at. Now, there are other ways to find this out, but it's really nice to just have a little piece of paper in front of you that reminds you. And this is what it can be if we all help each other find what we're doing that needs to be improved. So please discuss why it's important, if you think it's important, and we'll have fun talking about this one. All right, so where do you find the patterns? That's the question. Well, you have a textbook, and in chapter 9, these references, their examples are shown to you, or you can use this APA website. Either will get you there, and they're both really fairly easy to use. But what you need to do for the chart is find the patterns for journal articles, both with and without a DOI. Journal articles are going to be the basis for most all of your writing. And so if you can just get the sense of what do I do with a journal article, both when it has a DOI, which is simple because you put it in there, or without, then you don't put it in there. It's really pretty simple. And this covers about 90% of what you'll need to do your work. DOI, by the way, is a digital object identifier. It is a unique number assigned to a journal article. And it will be able to be found then every time, anywhere you are, you can click on that DOI, it's going to take you right to that article. Then also, you need to find patterns for websites. And there are two kinds here. One with an author and one without an author. We'll take a look at that. All right, so what we need to do is, where are the patterns? And let's take a little look at this. I'm going to go to the APA style website. And when you come up on that, you will see something like this. There are two ways to do it. You can go here to reference examples. You can also open this up, and this opens up into a little bit bigger, more inclusive pattern of information. And so you can take a look and, you'll get more out of this page than the other page. But looking at references, they're right down here. And we want to go down to reference examples. So clicking on that will then give us two types of reference examples: textual works and online media. And we looked a little bit about this last week, but again, we are reviewing because this is so important, and it really seems to cause some problems for students when it really doesn't need to. So for textual works, remind yourself again that these are things like books and periodicals. These are the main two kinds that you'll use, mostly periodicals. So going to journal article references, if you want to just have a plain journal article, there's your pattern. It's last name, comma, initials, period, comma, then all of the rest of the authors, and you would go up to 20. 20 is the maximum. If there were 100 authors, then you would stop at 19 and then pick up the very last author, number 100, and put it in there. That's not going to happen to you very often. It could happen, but probably not very often. When you hit that example, then just go to your text or go to this website, which you can always have for free, and look it up. And then it goes on date, which is the year, period, title, only the first word is capitalized, or the first word after a colon. This is a sentence case. Here we have some pronouns, personal pronouns, proper pronouns that are used, and those have to be capitalized. And then the name of the journal article, that's italicized, and it's treated as a title instead of a sentence. So every important word in this case is capitalized. The volume, which is italicized, and the issue, which is not, followed by the page numbers, and then the period. Once you start with the journal article, you're putting commas between every section until you finish it out with the page numbers. Then it's a period, and then your DOI. In this case, it does have one. Remember that all DOIs start with https:// that's // times 2. DOI.org/ and then your number. So if you're just putting DOI and stringing it out with this number, it's not correct. The nice thing about the way this website has presented information is that they give you the way to write the citation for this. And so there it is. This article has 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 authors. You do not write more than 2 ever now in APA 7. Thank you, APA 7. And so it would be the first author's last name, et al., A-L, period, comma, year, and parentheses. Now, the narrative citation is a little different. We're really not dealing with narrative citations in this course. That will come as you begin to write. You can begin to learn how to do this one. It's a little more advanced. We wanted to stick with the most simple for now. So look at the parenthetical citations. So that is the basic journal article. Now, if it doesn't have a DOI, if it doesn't come with one of these, just leave it off. Don't use the EBSCO URL here. You would just stop with the page number, period, and you would be complete. So that is a journal article with and without a DOI. Now, if you back up a little bit, just go back to where we were, and you're going to see online media. So that's the other kind we need, which is a web page on a website reference. So clicking on that, I would come down to number 3 and 4. Let's first look at number 4, which is with a specific author. With an individual author, last name, comma, first initial, period, the date. I think we mentioned before that sometimes on websites, they're going to give you the month and the day. So if they do include it, year first, make it look just like this, close the parentheses, period. Then the title, you notice that it's still sentence case, so it's only using capitals on the first word. but it is italicized. Now with the journal article, it was not, because we italicized the journal article name. We don't have a journal article, so we can go ahead and do the title as italicized. And then a website, if it's not clear with an author, where's this website? Go ahead and name the website there, put a little period, and then not the DOI, but the URL for the website. That's found at the top of the page. Just click into it, copy paste, and put it down as a hyperlinked. All the DOI and the URLs should be hyperlinked. They should be blue, and when you click on them, it should take you there. But you do not want a period after this. You don't want a period after a DOI, because it could foul up your link. So no periods there. Now, it sometimes causes a little more trouble when you don't have that author. And in that case, you're going to use the group author. The group author in this case is World Health Organization. Their staff writers wrote something for that website, but they didn't identify themselves, which they don't always. So again, here's the date. You would just say World Health Organization. That's where it was from. Year, month, day, separated by a little comma and a period. The title, again, is the same. Sentence case, first word only is capitalized, italics, and then the URL of the website. Now, we don't put the name of the website there, like we wouldn't put World Health Organization, period, like we did in the last one, because it's already sitting here as author, and so that's just kind of duplicative, and we don't do it. Here's your parenthetical citation, just like it looks, and there you have it. So you can look around, there's tons more there, but that gives you a site to look at, to go for where are the patterns. Now that we've noted that, let's take a look here at the chart. You're going to download this chart. I've done the first two for you. I've done the book version and the journal as if it were a print version. If you subscribe to a journal and you get one in a certain month and you decide to use it and you're holding it in your hand, then this is the way it's going to look. There is not going to be a DOI. There's not going to be a URL. You just stop right here. For the print version of the book, the difference now is that we do not need to place the city that the publisher is in, just place the publisher, and that's it. So these aren't going to happen to you very often. Again, this is an entire book. You're holding it in your hand, but it does give you kind of a look at things. So now what you need to do for this discussion question is to write the pattern out, just like we did it here. Write this pattern, go over to that site, see if they say what they do with the authors, then you'd write it just like this, and you'd write the title, you'd write title of article, period, and you would capitalize maybe this word and none others, hint, hint. Maybe you would italicize it, maybe you wouldn't, depending on what's what. I'll let you look at that. So put on this side, all these four columns, or four lines in this column should have the pattern. So please put the pattern on this side, then come over here and just find an article that kind of matches that. You can even make it up if you want to make it up, that's okay. And put how it would look over here, then an actual example. You can find them, they're in there, certainly easy to do if you want to just write one out for yourself. If you want to be the author, that's fine too. Write yourself a title and a journal that you put it in, and that's all. Just make it fun, I guess. So you just need four patterns, 4 actual examples. This is journal article with and without DOI, website with and without an author. All right, 2 assignments this week, but it's really not as bad as it seems because the sentence is that's gonna go really quick. And we know that paragraphs populate papers, and sentences are the backbone of paragraphs. So sentences need to send a clear message for anything to make sense. But sometimes a student will fail to create proper sentences, and instead, these 3 common errors confuse the meaning, and the reader sort of just trips over the distraction. So we want to take a look. It's very distracting when you find one that's wrong. So let's take a look at the 3 common ones. which is a sentence fragment, a run-on, and subject-verb agreement. But before you try this assignment, please read the short lecture on sentences and watch each of the videos. It's critical. So a sentence fragment is just a piece of a sentence. It doesn't make any sense. And if you read it out loud, you'll hear that it doesn't. So, for instance, reading in the library. Well, that should catch your ear, that there's something wrong there, that's not enough. And indeed, it's only a piece of a sentence, not the whole sentence. A run-on could be a complete sentence that just keeps going on and on with no punctuation, or maybe the incorrect punctuation. She came home, they ate dinner, and friends came over. Well, it just keeps going on, and without that punctuation, as you try to read it in your mind, even silently, it does not make sense. So we need to look at run-ons. And subject-verb mismatch. So that's a subject that's singular with a plural verb, or a plural subject with a singular verb. For example, he are going. Well, doesn't that hurt your ear? You can't hear that. They is studying. Oh, no, that doesn't sound right. So sometimes if you read your paper to yourself out loud, you will hear the mistakes, and that is very, very important. So you ought to give that a try. What you need to do then is to prepare a new Word document with the title page and a content page, and you're going to format it according to APA. Use the title as a level 1, and then read the directions of the assignment carefully, very carefully, and decide on some level 2 headings. So before, we talked about how when you write something, you choose the level 2 headings based on your thesis statement. And when you get an assignment sometimes, then you take that assignment and you have to create the level headings from what that assignment wants, from those bullet points. So this is going to be a chance where we are telling you what you need to write about, and you're going to have to come up with those level 2 headings. This would organize your assignment then in some logical way based on the content requirements. So go back, take a really good look at the content requirements, and make sure that you have a level 2 heading for every main point. And that would cover that. Now, just go ahead and write a brief introduction. It does not have to be a 5 to 7 sentence, broad to narrow with a thesis statement. You don't need that. Just write a couple, 3 sentences to kind of introduce us to what you're going to talk about. It's going to be just very short and very simple. And then develop an example of a sentence fragment, a run-on, and a complete sentence. And talk about these under the proper level 2 heading. So you have to kind of think about how you're going to organize this. Please somewhere include the exercise scores. You're going to take little quizzes just to see how you do, and include those and in the paragraphs, but these do not need to be meal paragraphs. We're not going to use any evidence. Don't do that, because then you have to have a reference page, and we don't need that. So they're not meal paragraphs. They're just simple little paragraphs to talk about a sentence fragment, another one about a run-on, another about a complete sentence, and I would throw in subject-verb mismatch. And then end with a short conclusion. It doesn't, again, have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be the reverse flip of our introduction, just something simple, again, 2 to 3 sentences about the same length. And then discuss why sentence structures should be avoided. In each of these examples of a sentence fragment and a run-on, you need to actually say in there, why is this a fragment? What is it about your example that makes it a fragment? What is it about your example that makes it a run-on? Or what is it about your example that makes it a complete sentence? So you have to connect the rationale with the example. All right, for our assignment, we're going to write another essay. So we've done this before. You just finished week 4. Now we're just going to do it again, and we're going to expand on it just a little bit. So we're going to write a new essay much like we did last week, but with this little bit of expansion. And you need to really pay attention to all the feedback from the first 4 weeks. You should be using your feedback notebook to remind yourself of what might need to be adjusted. You should be keeping careful count of that, because each week, as you continue to make the same errors, the point count drop will be larger. And so you want to really make sure you're not doing it and go back and look and figure that out. So this paper is going to include 3 level 2s. Last week you did 2, so we're just adding 1 more. It's going to be the same kind of paragraph, a mule paragraph. Your intro is going to be a broad 5 to 7 sentence introduction with a thesis statement. Now, the thesis statement this week will need 3 pieces of evidence, because each piece of evidence is going to mirror or correlate with one of the 3 level 2s. So if we said dogs are living creatures, dogs would be the title, the subject matter, are living creatures. That would be the claim. You're claiming that a dog is alive. All right, well, how do you know that? Now, prove it. Well, they have a heartbeat. They respond to spoken words, and they act like a dog. I don't know, those are kind of silly, but those would be your 3 pieces of evidence, and then that would be turned into the level 2s: alive, respond, and act like a human, however you want to say that. So all that to say, you need to make sure that your level 3 headings, or I'm sorry, your level 2 headings match your thesis statement, your main points. Now, we're going to expand it by adding 2 level 3s. You can choose to break down any of your level 2s, any one at all, doesn't matter which one, into an additional 2 levels. And the best thing for you to do is not do more than 2 level 3s. So don't think that for every level 2 you need to break each one down into more level 3s. I don't want you to do that. I want you to just choose one and break those down. Choose a new healthcare topic, one that you're unfamiliar with but interests you. There is a template provided in the assignment that shows you exactly what your paper should look like. So follow it carefully. Again, here's another pattern. Follow the pattern to earn all your points. And the directions also give you a visual picture of how to set up your paper along with a real life example. So you need to take a good look at that and see what your paper should kind of mimic. You will need 3 to 4 scholarly references, and you always need to have them less than 5 years old. Please use both the library database and the internet, but I prefer 2 journal articles to every 1 internet piece, and place those on the reference page. You need to include a title then, a title page, the content page, reference page. You'll use Grammarly and tutor.com. And another method to proof, you will find these 3 to 4 scholarly articles from the library database, the internet, and they're less than 5 years old, and put them on your reference page. So let's look at an example. All right, we're going to pretend this is page 2. I'm not looking at the title page, we're looking at the content page here, and there's the title, Nutrition for Dogs. That is going to be my title. Of course, you're going to have an intro, and the thesis will have 3 pieces of evidence because you need 3 level 2s. Those are going to be your main points. And so let's see, for nutrition, let's talk about how expensive it is, how nutritious the brands might be, and about how much we should feed a dog. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to use to break down this paper, the 3 ways I want to approach the discussion of nutrition for dogs. How much does it cost, the nutrition of it, and how much a dog should eat. So now we've just added 1 more level 2, but then we're going to add a couple of more ideas I looked at that and I said, well, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the expense. So why don't we find a way to expand that a little bit? We'll break it down. So I chose the expense of canned versus straw. So there are my level 3s. And let's look at this then. There's the level 1, level 2, the 2 3s, and the other level 2s. So this is how it should look, and these are the way the headings should look. They're all bolded. They are all in sentence, I'm sorry, they are all in title case, which means every word that's important is capitalized. You notice that up in the title, the word for, that's a preposition that's not considered to be an important word for this, and so that's not capitalized. But the rest of mine were all important words, so everything's capitalized. The only decisions you have to make about what do I do with citations, with headings, is do I put them in the center? Well, those are just for the level 1s, and our title's acting that way this time, so only one in the center. All the rest go to the left. Every single one is level 2 or level 3. And we're not talking about 4s and 5s, but level 2 and 3 are all slid sideways to the left, every one of them. So then the only other choice you have to make is, do I italicize them or do I not? Well, if it's a level 2, you do not. But if it's level 3, yes, you do. So there it is. You have chosen one level 2, and you have subdivided that and expanded the thoughts and placed level 3s underneath. Now, you can't have a level 2 and just one level 3, and then you go to the next level 2 and have another level 3. You know that there have to be 2 together under one sub or supra or higher or superior level. As we did for level 1, you notice that we have 3 level 2s. They're all under our 1 level 1. So that's what it's going to look like. Please keep in mind that when you have a level 1, when you start up there, you have to have an introduction. Then you come to level 2, and you're going to talk about 2 things under level 2. But before you do that, you must include a paragraph under expense considerations. So you can't just put expense considerations and jump right into canned choices and dry choices. You're going to have to introduce the topic or the thought about, we're going to talk about money. You know, maybe some are more expensive than others or what. You talk about that, and then you break them down. So another way to say this is that every heading must have a paragraph underneath it. Every heading has, they can't sit and they can't touch each other. They have to be separated by a paragraph. Please use all Neal paragraphs except for the intro and the conclusion. They have their own form. We practiced that in week 4. So all of these paragraphs, and you're just writing about, 12 more sentences or 3 more paragraphs than you did last week. So this isn't a lot of work, really, but make sure you're paying attention. Do I have an M that is the first sentence of my paragraph introducing the topic of that paragraph? Let's take canned choices. So is my very first sentence in this paragraph speaking to the fact that we're going to look at canned choices? Then secondly, is there an evidence statement? Are you putting something in there that talks about the proof? Well, you say that canned choices are preferable. Then I have to, in my next sentence, say that, for instance, a certain study was done in Sweden indicating that dogs live longer lives eating canned than dry, or whatever it is. And then at the end of that, you need a little citation, right? Because you have gone out and found some proof, and now you have to paraphrase that, and you put the citation at the end of the sentence. Then an A sentence. The A is for analysis or explanation. And so talk, maybe if you want to paraphrase in your own words, or you find somebody to talk about this, and you certainly can cite every sentence could be cited. But that analysis sentence is, you're just going to expand on that thought a little bit. And then finally, a lead out or linking sentence at the end of the paragraph. In the case of canned choices, I might say something like, while canned choices are an economical consideration, dry choices have been shown to be equally nutritious. Whatever you want to say, but what you're doing is you're linking the idea of the canned paragraph to the dry paragraph. That linking L is going to point to the next paragraph. If you have more than one paragraph under any heading, then it points to the next paragraph, not the next topic. But if there's only one under each, then it's going to point to that next heading. And then finally, your conclusion. All right, questions. It sounds like a pretty straightforward week. It's busy, but it's straightforward. You've done this already once, and so you shouldn't have any problem. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and we will talk to you soon.